Hello, Krista. Today I want to talk about lies. Specifically, the lie that sandwiches are sandwiches. I mean, that sandwiches come from sandwich? Let me begin with what a sandwich is. So the story goes that the Earl of Sandwich was playing cards sometime in the 18th century, and he wanted to eat some food, but he didn't want to stop playing cards, so he ordered a servant to bring him a sandwich, that is, a piece of bread with some meat in it, so that he could still hold his cards and eat at the same time. The problem with this story is, first of all, it was the fucking servant that invented the sandwich, not the Earl of Sandwich. But whatever, they were still in Sandwich, so fine. But the thing is, this idea wasn't even close to original, so for a start, we know from that same period and immediately preceding it, there are English travelers describing their experiences in print of going to Dutch pubs and having slices of meat cut from skewers hanging from the ceiling served to them between slices of buttered bread. Does that sound just like a sandwich to you? It should. I suspect, however, that this tradition of hanging meat on skewers and then serving it in slices to patrons came from Central Europe, specifically the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire in Central Europe? Whatever do you mean, Sam? I mean that in 1683, the fucking Ottoman Empire were laying siege to Vienna, and while their territory did recede substantially thereafter, the fact is that the Habsburg dynasty was retaking areas that had been controlled and therefore influenced by Ottoman rule. And as for you Greek and Arabic speaking folks that think maybe your peoples invented the sandwich, well, I hate to break it to you, but shawarma and hero both probably come from Turkic words. However, even before the shawarma or the kebab, the Jews have the best claim to a long-standing, continuously extant sandwich tradition. So we know Rabbi Hillel was eating a layer of matzah, a layer of sacrificial lamb, a layer of bitter herbs, and another layer of matzah as part of the Seder dinner. But we also know he described the Babylonians as being fools for eating bread with bread. And because of this criticism of Babylonian dietary practices, some Orthodox Jews will not eat sandwiches. Even now, they will not eat any sandwiches. No, I am not making this up. But it is very pleasing to think that all of the Jewish and Jew-ish children in the world that don't eat bread during Pesach, but instead have to make their peanut butter and jelly matzah sandwiches, are actually participating in one of the oldest sandwich traditions in the world. But here's a troublesome thing about English. I just described that as a sandwich tradition, knowing, as I have already said, that word dates from the 18th century, and that the tradition I'm describing predates it by well over 1,000 years. I don't know why I had to do a Fozzie Bear voice to emphasize 1,000 years, but it sounds much longer ago if you say 1,000 years than if you say 1,000 years. But this is the point that I started with, that sandwiches are not sandwiches. They are something more ancient than that. More ancient even than smorgasbord, more ancient even than the doner kebab or the trencher. They are even more ancient than any of the traditions that I have mentioned. The idea of having bread and putting things onto or between it is as old as bread. Perhaps even older than bread, because we know that pasta predates bread. So perhaps people were filling their pasta before they invented leavening, which would mean that the dumpling, the filled pasta, predated the sandwich. We could even say that the sandwich is a type of dumpling! Everyone who has known me for a while has probably had to hear the sandwich is a type of dumpling rant, so it was just a matter of time before I shared it with the internet. You're welcome. Krista, I will see you tomorrow.